The enormous central chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the emergency beacon flashed red. The 1,000 different species represented there, from the warrior Krothak to the scholarly Zilfians, all turned their attention to High Counselor Vexthor. "We have received disturbing reports." Vexthor's crystalline form pulsed with worry. "Something has emerged from a dimensional tear near the galactic core, something that should not exist in our reality." The holographic displays showed a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to bend space itself. Even through the recording, several council members shuddered. Data scrolled across secondary screens, showing energy readings that broke several laws of physics. "We need immediate intervention," Vexthor continued. 3 research stations have already gone dark. The entity appears to be growing. The Krothak warriors, 8-foot-tall beings of muscle and honor, were the first to step forward. Their leader, General Kraz, pounded his chest. "We will destroy this abomination," he declared. But when the full sensor data played, showing how the entity had consumed an entire battle fleet without effort, the Krothak quietly stepped back. Similar scenes play out with other warrior species. The Mechlords calculated a 99.98% chance of destruction. The Swarm Collective declared it outside their capabilities. Even the energy beings of the Photonic Alliance refused to approach. "Does no one dare?" Vexthor asked, his crystalline form dimming with despair. In the back of the chamber, a small figure stood up. Sarah Chen, Earth's representative, raised her hand. "The Human Emergency Response Division would like to volunteer." Laughter echoed through the chamber. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as the most cautious species ever encountered. They insisted on safety protocols for everything. They wore protective suits even in safe environments. They ran simulations before trying anything new. Some species called them cowards. "You?" General Kraz sneered. "Your species checks the temperature of their drinks before sipping them. You wear protective gear to walk in light rain." Sarah remained standing, her face calm. "We would like to volunteer," she repeated. "We have experience with dimensional anomalies and first contact situations." "This is not some laboratory experiment," a Zilfian scholar warned. "This entity destroys everything it touches." "We understand the risks," Sarah replied. "That's why we're volunteering. We'll send our best deep space disaster response team." The council exchanged looks. They had no other volunteers, and the situation was desperate. Finally, Vexthor nodded. "Very well. How soon can your team deploy?" "They're already loading their equipment," Sarah said, checking her tablet. "Standard procedure is to prepare while diplomacy is ongoing. They'll be ready to launch in 6 hours." More laughter. 6 hours. General Kraz boomed. "A warrior would be there already." Sarah looked at him calmly. "Yes, and they would be just as dead as your battle fleet. Our team will arrive prepared." As the council session ended, an elder Zilfian floated up to Sarah. "You know your team will die," it said softly. Sarah showed the alien her tablet. On it were hundreds of simulations, equipment lists, and contingency plans. "Maybe," she admitted, "but we'll give ourselves every possible chance to succeed. And if we fail, we'll make sure the next team has data to work with." The Zilfian blinked all 4 eyes. "You're actually serious about this?" "Deadly serious," Sarah replied. "That's why we might survive." As she walked away, her tablet pinged with an update from the response team. They had already loaded 3 ships with equipment. Everything was proceeding according to standard operating procedure. The galaxy might call humans cowards. But sometimes, Sarah thought, being careful was the bravest thing you could be. 3 massive human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the danger zone. Each vessel was painted bright yellow with red stripes, standard Earth safety colors. The ships looked more like floating construction sites than warships, covered in sensors, equipment pods, and multiple layers of shielding. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the cautious approach, watching her crew work. Everyone wore full environmental suits, even though the ship's life support was functioning perfectly. Standard procedure: always be prepared for sudden hull breach. "The aliens are hailing us," Communications Officer Park announced. "They seem amused." The main screen lit up, showing General Kraz of the Krathak. His massive warrior form barely contained his laughter. "Humans, you actually came. And what are all these boxes you bring with you?" Maya answered calmly. "Safety equipment, General. Emergency supplies. Backup systems for our backup systems." "Cowards," another alien voice cut in. "Face the enemy directly." "We intend to," Maya replied. After proper preparation, she turned to her crew. "Deploy the first wave of drones." Hundreds of small, unmanned probes launched from the 3 ships. Each carried different sensors and was designed to be sacrificed if necessary. The aliens watched in disbelief as the humans spent the next 3 hours methodically mapping the area from a safe distance. Dr. James Wong, the team's chief scientist, studied the incoming data. "Captain," he called out, "these readings are fascinating. The entity appears to be leaking 5th-dimensional energy." A Zilphian science vessel approached the human ships. Their elder representative appeared on the screen. "Why do you delay? The entity grows stronger while you play with your toys." Maya gestured to the holographic displays showing the drone data. "We've already learned more about the entity than any previous approach. See these energy patterns? They're not random. There's a structure here." The drones kept working, building a detailed picture of the space around the entity. Some were destroyed by energy tendrils, but the humans simply launched more, adjusting their paths based on what they learned from each loss. "Look at them," General Kraz complained to the Zilphian elder on a private channel. "They treat this like a construction project instead of a battle." "Perhaps," the elder replied, watching with growing interest. "That is exactly what this situation needs." Inside the cautious approach, the crew worked with practiced efficiency. Everyone had trained for scenarios like this. Every action followed carefully designed protocols. When a drone discovered something unexpected, they didn't rush forward. They sent 3 more drones to verify the data. "Captain," Dr. Wong called out suddenly, "you need to see this." The main screen showed a pattern they'd pieced together from multiple drone readings. The entity's energy emissions formed a regular rhythm, like a pulse, or like breathing, Maya said quietly. "It's breathing." The crew fell silent. Even the aliens watching on their screens could feel the moment's weight. "If it's breathing," Dr. Wong said, "then it's alive. And if it's alive, it can be helped," Maya finished. She turned to her crew. "New protocol, everyone. This is no longer just a containment mission. We're moving to xenobiological rescue procedures." The aliens listening interrupted in protests. "Rescue? The thing that destroyed entire fleets." Maya ignored them, focused on her crew's preparations. They had trained for this too. Every possible scenario, no matter how unlikely, had a protocol. "Deploy the medical drones," she ordered, "and get me the xenobiologists on ships 2 and 3. We have work to do." The humans continued their methodical approach, ignoring the aliens' mockery. They had learned long ago that rushing in wasn't brave. It was just a faster way to die. The entity noticed them. There was no doubt about that now. Captain Maya Rodriguez watched as waves of pure terror rolled across space. The medical drones closest to the dimensional anomaly recorded everything. 3 alien observation ships that had been watching the humans immediately jumped to faster-than-light speed, fleeing in panic. But the human ships stayed. "Fear response is rising," Dr. Wong reported, his voice shaking slightly inside his helmet. "But our mental shields are holding." He gripped his console tightly, knuckles white inside his protective gloves. The suit's anti-panic systems are working. This was why humans always wore their full environmental suits, even when others mocked them. The suits weren't just for physical protection. They contained systems to regulate heart rate, inject anti-anxiety medications if needed, and help the wearer stay focused even under extreme stress. "Everyone remember your training," Maya said, her own voice steady thanks to years of practice and the suit's support. "Fear is information. Notice it. Accept it. Use it." The entity's darkness spread across their view screens, tentacles of void reaching toward their ships. The human vessel's external cameras caught strange patterns in the blackness, movements that shouldn't be possible in normal space. "Captain," Lieutenant Sarah Park called out, "we're getting a signal. The entity, it's trying to communicate." The sound that filled their ships made several crew members stumble. It was like a scream of pain translated into mathematics, a sound that existed in more dimensions than human ears could process. But the humans had prepared for even this. "Run it through acoustic filters," Maya ordered. "Apply the dimensional compression algorithms we developed after the Jupiter incident." The horrible sound gradually transformed. It was still alien and frightening, but now they could begin to analyze it. "Energy patterns matching vital signs," Dr. Wong reported, his scientific training helping him push through the fear. "Definitely biological in nature." And he paused, double-checking his readings. "There are damage patterns consistent with severe trauma." Maya nodded. Their caution, their careful approach, their endless preparation, it had all led to this moment of understanding. While warrior races saw only a threat to be destroyed, human thoroughness had revealed the truth. "Begin Phase 2, she ordered. "Deploy the medical beacon arrays." Special drones moved forward, forming a complex pattern in space. Each one began broadcasting signals designed to communicate peaceful intentions across multiple dimensional frequencies. It was a first contact protocol humans had developed but never had to use before. The entity's darkness rippled. The waves of terror weakened slightly. "It's responding," Dr. Wong exclaimed. "The pain patterns in its signals are changing." General Kraz's voice crackled over their emergency channel. "Humans, you still live. Our sensors show the entity moving toward your position." "We know," Maya replied calmly, even as her suit injected a fresh dose of anti-anxiety medication. "Please maintain your distance, General. We're making progress." The entity was indeed moving closer, its vast form distorting space around their ships. But instead of the violent attacks reported in earlier encounters, its movements seemed almost cautious, like it was examining their medical beacons with curiosity. "All stations," Maya called out. "Prepare for closer interaction. Remember your training. We've drilled for this." The crew moved with practiced precision, even as their hands trembled and sweat rolled down their faces inside their suits. They were terrified. Any sane being would be, but they were trained to work through their fear. The entity's next signal was clearer, more focused. The humans' translators began picking up patterns. "Pain. Help. Fear. Send the response we prepared," Maya ordered. "Let's show this being that sometimes the most important kind of courage is the willingness to stop and help." Through the reinforced windows of the medical bay, Dr. Emma Chen watched the swirling patterns of the entity. The massive being had moved closer to their ships over the past 12 hours, but always stopped exactly at the safety boundaries they'd established. "It's learning our protocols," she said into her suit's recorder. "It's respecting our safety zones." The entity had changed since their first contact. The waves of terror it emitted now came in controlled pulses rather than overwhelming floods. When the fear became too strong, the humans would retreat to their shielded safe rooms for recovery, and the entity would wait patiently for their return. "New data coming in," Dr. Wong announced from his station. "The dimensional tear. It's not just a random hole in space. Look at these edges." The main screen showed detailed scans of the rift. The jagged patterns along its borders weren't chaotic, as everyone had assumed. They were regular, like the broken edges of a crashed ship. "It's a vehicle," Captain Rodriguez said, understanding dawning in her eyes. "The tear isn't just a hole. It's a damaged dimensional ship." The entity pulsed with different colors when they sent this observation through their translation array. The response came back clearer than ever. "Yes, Crash. Hurt. Help. General Kraz's battle fleet had regrouped at a safe distance. His voice came through their comms, still skeptical, but no longer mocking. You mean to tell us this destroyer of fleets is just a wounded traveler? A wounded traveler who reacted in panic and pain, Maya replied. Think about it, General. If you crashed on an alien world and the first response was everyone attacking you, how would you react? The general fell silent, considering this. Dr. Chen turned to her medical team. Adjust the beacon frequencies. If we're dealing with a crashed ship, we need to think about dimensional engineering, not just biology. The human ships began broadcasting new patterns, mixing their medical signals with engineering diagnostics. The response was immediate. The entity's dark mass shifted, revealing structures that had been hidden before. Those look like drive systems, Dr. Wong said excitedly. Similar to theoretical models we've worked on, but far more advanced. Lieutenant Park, who had been monitoring communications, suddenly straightened in her chair. Captain, we're getting signals from the Galactic Council. They've been watching our feeds. The Zilfian Science Academy is offering their help. The Mechlords as well, another officer added. They say our engineering analysis gave them new insights. Maya smiled behind her helmet visor. Accept all offers of assistance, but make sure everyone follows our safety protocols. No exceptions. The next few hours saw a flurry of activity as other species began arriving, not to fight, but to help. Each ship was given a copy of human safety procedures and required to follow them exactly. The entity seemed to grow calmer as more coordinated help arrived. Look at that, Dr. Chen said softly, watching alien ships carefully maneuvering into position, all wearing bright safety colors over their usual markings. They're all following our protocols now. Even the Krothak ships are moving at safety speed. Maya nodded. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't being first to attack. Sometimes it's being the first to stop, think, and try to understand. The entity's next transmission came through clearer than ever. Safe now. Humans help. Others help. Can repair. Send out the repair drone teams, Maya ordered. Everything by the book, just like we trained. We're not taking risks just because we're making progress. The human approach, careful, methodical, and thoroughly prepared, was turning what could have been a disaster into something else entirely. A rescue mission that was bringing the galaxy's species together in ways no one had imagined possible. And it all started because the cowards were the only ones brave enough to be careful. Everything was going well until it wasn't. The entity suddenly convulsed, its dark mass expanding violently. Emergency alarms blared across all ships in the rescue fleet. The dimensional tear widened, sending waves of distorted space in all directions. Hull stress increasing. Lieutenant Park shouted over the noise. The entity's pain levels are off the charts. Captain Maya Rodriguez watched as their carefully organized operation threatened to fall apart. 3 alien ships immediately jumped away. Others were preparing to flee. Status report, she demanded, holding onto her command chair as the ship shuddered. Dr. Wong's fingers flew across his console. The repair attempt triggered something. Like removing a bandage too quickly. We've exposed something critical. The entity's screams came through all frequencies now, a sound of pure agony that made even the bravest crew members flinch inside their protective suits. Krothak fleet is charging weapons, Lieutenant Park reported. General Kraz says we must destroy it now, before it's too late. Maya's mind raced. All their preparation, all their progress. It couldn't end like this. She activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez. Hold your positions. Do not engage weapons. Have you lost your mind, human? General Kraz roared back. Your caution has failed. Now is the time for action. Maya's voice remained steady, even as her suit pumped anti-anxiety meds into her system. With respect, General, our caution is exactly what we need right now. Dr. Chen, what do our medical readings say? Dr. Emma Chen had been silent. staring intently at her displays. "The entity's not attacking," she said suddenly. "These patterns, they're like muscle spasms. It's having a seizure." "Exactly," Maya said. "And what's the worst thing you can do to someone having a seizure?" Understanding dawned in General Kraz's voice. "Attack them." "All ships maintain safe distance but hold position," Maya ordered. "Medical team, prepare the largest dose of stabilizing fields we can generate. Dr. Wong, recalibrate the repair drones. We're not giving up." The entity thrashed again, its movement sending dangerous waves of dimensional energy across space. The human ship's sturdy construction and multiple backup systems, once mocked as excessive, were now the only thing keeping them intact. "Captain," Dr. Wong called out, "if we're going to help, we need to get closer. Much closer." Maya looked at her crew. Despite their fear, she saw determination in their eyes. They had trained for this. They had planned for this. "Cautious approach. Prepare for close-range operation," she ordered. "All other ships maintain support positions." "That's suicide," someone shouted over the comm. "No," Maya replied calmly. "It's what we came here to do. We just need to do it carefully." Their ship moved forward slowly, methodically, following every safety protocol they had established. The entity's thrashing grew worse, but they pressed on. "Broadcasting calming frequencies," Dr. Chen reported, matching our approach speed to its pain cycles. Through the view screen, they could now see details in the entity's form that no one had noticed before. Patterns that looked almost like circuit boards, but in 5 dimensions. "It's trying to communicate again," Lieutenant Park said. "But the signal's broken. Scattered." Maya made her decision. "Dr. Wong, prepare a full neural link. We need to show it we understand." "Captain," he protested, "the neural link hasn't been tested at this range." "Everything we've done so far was untested," she reminded him. "But we tested it anyway, step by step, safely and carefully. That's who we are. That's how we work." As their ship moved closer to the suffering entity, Maya thought about how humans had been called cowards for so long. But here they were, the only ones still moving forward, still trying to help. Sometimes, the greatest courage was in being careful enough to do what others thought impossible. "Neural link ready," Dr. Wong reported. Maya nodded. "Begin transmission. Let's show this being what human caution can really do." The neural link activated, and Captain Maya Rodriguez's world exploded into 5 dimensions. Her protective suit's systems struggled to process what her mind was experiencing. Colors that didn't exist, shapes that couldn't be, pain that transcended physical understanding. But the suit did exactly what it was designed to do. It kept her stable and conscious. "Neural patterns holding." Dr. Wong's voice seemed to come from both everywhere and nowhere. "The entity is responding." Through the link, Maya began to understand. The being wasn't just a traveler, it was an explorer, like them. It had been mapping dimensional spaces when its ship was damaged by an unexpected quantum storm. The crash into normal space had wounded both the ship and the being itself. "It's scared," Maya transmitted to her crew. "Scared and alone." Everyone who came before either attacked or ran away. The entity's thoughts merged with hers, carefully filtered through multiple safety systems. Maya felt its surprise at encountering beings who stayed despite their fear, who helped despite their caution, who turned their very cowardice into a strength. "Transmitting repair sequences now," Dr. Chen reported. "The entity is helping us understand its technology." On the main screen, the dimensional tear began to stabilize. The entity's random movements became more controlled. Other ships in the rescue fleet watched in amazement as the humans' careful approach finally paid off. "Look at these readings," Dr. Wong said excitedly. "It's not just a ship, it's a research vessel. The technology here, it's incredible." Through the neural link, the entity shared glimpses of its home dimension. Maya saw wonders that human science had only dreamed about, but more importantly, she felt the entity's gratitude. "Thank you for being afraid. It communicated. Thank you for being careful. Others brave quick dead. You afraid careful alive helpful. General Kraz. Maya called out, knowing the Krathak leader was watching. Your fleet's weapons might be useful now, but for power transmission, not attacking. Can you reconfigure them to these frequencies? There was a pause before the general responded. You want us to turn our weapons into power generators. Sometimes the bravest thing is being willing to use your strength differently than expected, Maya replied. To everyone's surprise, the Krathak ships began to move into position. Their weapon ports opened, but instead of destruction, they began transmitting power on the exact frequencies needed for the entity's repairs. Other ships are joining in, Lieutenant Park reported with amazement. The Zilfians, the Mechlords, they're all following our power transmission protocols. Through the neural link, Maya felt the entity's systems beginning to heal. The five-dimensional technology was repairing itself using the carefully controlled energy being provided. Healing, learning, understanding, the entity transmitted. Your fear wisdom teaches us new way. And your trust teaches us that our caution has value, Maya responded. The dimensional tear was shrinking now, but not like a wound closing. More like a door being properly fitted into its frame. The entity's form became more defined, more controlled. Dr. Chen's voice was filled with wonder. It's not just healing. It's adapting. It's incorporating our safety protocols into its own systems. Through the link, Maya saw what she meant. The entity was learning from them, just as they were learning from it. Its ship now had multiple backup systems, safety checks, and careful protocols, all based on human designs. We'll share knowledge, the entity promised. We'll teach others about human wisdom. Brave is not rush. Brave is care. As the repair work continued, Maya thought about how this would change things. The galaxy had just watched the cowardly humans succeed where warrior races failed, and they did it not by overcoming their cautious nature, but by embracing it. All ships, she transmitted to the fleet, prepare for final repair sequence. And remember, we do this carefully, or we don't do it at all. The universe, it seemed, had much to learn from human cowardice. 1 month after the successful first contact with the dimensional entity, Captain Maya Rodriguez stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber that had once echoed with mockery of human cowardice now sat in respectful silence. The entity, whom we now know as the Explorer Vaxtith, has safely returned to its dimension, Maya reported, her voice clear and steady, but not before sharing some of its technology. Carefully adapted with safety protocols, of course. A ripple of gentle laughter moved through the chamber. It wasn't mocking this time, but appreciative. Several council members wore environmental suits of their own now, modeled after human designs. High Counselor Vexthor's crystalline form glowed warmly. The Galactic Council has reviewed the entire incident. What seemed like a disaster became one of the most significant first contact events in our history. And it succeeded because of human cowardice. Not cowardice, High Counselor, Maya corrected politely. Preparation, respect for danger, willingness to be careful even when others mock us for it. General Kraz stood up. The massive Krathak warrior was wearing a scaled-up version of a human safety suit, modified for his species. I once laughed at humans for checking the temperature of their drinks, he announced. Now I do the same. Because the brave one is not the one who burns their mouth, but the one who takes time to drink safely. The Zilfian elder floated forward. We have begun incorporating human safety protocols into all our research stations. Our efficiency has increased by 47%. It turns out that taking time to be careful actually makes work faster in the long run. Dr. Wong, sitting beside Maya, activated a holographic display showing the modified dimensional drive technology they'd received from Vaxtith. The entity didn't just teach us about dimensional travel, he explained. It taught us that different species can have different kinds of courage. Ours is the courage to take things slowly, to prepare thoroughly, to admit when we're afraid. And that is why, High Counselor Vexthor announced, The Council has unanimously voted to establish the human Sci-Fi protocol as the galactic standard for all dangerous operations. Maya smiled, remembering how terrified they'd all been during the mission, and how their willingness to accept and work with that fear had made everything possible. The main screen activated, showing a transmission from Vaxtith's dimension. The entity had evolved, its form now incorporating aspects of human engineering. Its research vessel gleamed with safety markings. "Many greetings, friends," it transmitted. "Our dimension learns from human wisdom. Fear-respect makes exploration safer. You teach us true meaning of courage. The universe is dangerous." Maya addressed the Council. Stars explode. Dimensions collide. Strange beings emerge from the unknown. We humans have always known this. Our caution doesn't come from cowardice. It comes from understanding just how wonderful and terrible space can be. She gestured to her crew, still in their safety suits. "We check our equipment thoroughly. We run simulations. We prepare for every possibility we can think of. And when we encounter something new, we approach it carefully, respectfully, and with proper precautions. That's not cowardice. That's wisdom." The council chamber erupted in applause. Species that had once mocked humans now looked to them for guidance. The galaxy was changing, becoming more thoughtful, more careful, more prepared. As Maya left the chamber later, she passed a group of young aliens practicing emergency protocols. They wore safety gear, checked their equipment, and moved with careful precision. "Look," Dr. Wong said softly beside her. "They're acting like cowards." Maya smiled. "No," she corrected. "They're acting like humans, and that's exactly what the galaxy needs." In the end, it turned out that the most revolutionary thing humans brought to the stars wasn't their technology, their adaptability, or their determination. It was their caution. And the galaxy was all the braver for it.